with that, I wanted to bring in actress extraordinaire. She's been acting ever since 1996, and she's getting it done. And there's a difference between being an actor and being a working actor, and that is what she is. She played a character named Nadia Yassir on the hit show 24. Help me bring in Marisol Nichols. Marisol, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for blessing. It's always a pleasure to have our guests come on the show. I know you guys are really busy, but it's always appreciative for me and my co-host to have people like yourself on the program.
Oh, well, thank you, and it's my pleasure, and thank you for that wonderful intro.
Nick is just really wanting a role in anything right now, Marisol. So if you got anything, like even in the background where you need like a good-looking black guy, Nick's your man.
Okay, all right. I'll keep that in mind when I'm on set.
Well, yeah, definitely keep that in mind. You know, I could be a backstand, some guy in the background, or maybe kind of find a way to get my way behind the camera. I would definitely love that.
Doing like ninja moves and stuff.
Well, Marisol, I'm glad I have you on. You live in California, and of course, if you live in California, you have kids. You know about the Senate Bill 277. I think that bill was passed where it was making it mandatory for parents to have to vaccinate their kids. But as a parent yourself, when you see something like this being pushed across, what's your first perspective about something like this?
Well, you know, this bill is so, it's stirred a lot of controversy, and a lot of people's opinions are very, very passionate about it. And in my opinion, look, it's not about whether to vaccinate or not vaccinate. Everyone can make that decision for themselves. It's letting the government decide for the parent what vaccinations to give your kid, at what schedule to give your kid, and anything that they want to put in the vaccinations. And it says so in the bill, and I think that's the biggest debate. I mean, I have friends that vaccinate their kids completely, that are completely opposed to this bill because of the government infringement on parental rights. I have other friends that don't vaccinate their kids, and they don't want the bill because it would infringe on those parental rights. So I think the real question is, this would open the door to the government telling parents what they can and cannot put into their kids' bodies. I think that's a dangerous slope.
You know what, Marisol, and we're talking to actress Marisol Nichols. You can follow her on Twitter at Marisol Nichols. That was one of my biggest issues. I have no problems with vaccines because they have helped us live long, you know, polio, measles, and all those type of things. But to me, when you start to package these things together and administer them to small bodies, and these small bodies haven't built up enough antibodies to fight off a lot of infections and disease, but you're going to overload their small bodies with, you know, this MMR, what this kind of those three things you're giving to that child. To me, that's where I have a problem. And then when you make it mandatory, we as human beings, we have a right. There's a constitution. We should have the right to choose whether we want to do something or not. And I think we're straddling a really thin line if we're allowing the government and state officials to tell us we have to do something. So to me, it's like, where does it stop? And where could this possibly push to?
You know, I've done several research on this bill, and there's a couple things that are a little dangerous about it. Now, I understand the opposing argument are parents saying, hey, you're killing my child. You're putting my child at risk if you don't vaccinate. Now, here's the deal, and this is what I've looked at. This is just, again, what I have found. The bill actually states all 10 vaccinations, which include measles, the mumps, hepatitis B, the flu, chickenpox. And when you look at these things, you go, okay, polio, that's a deadly disease. Whooping cough, people can die from that. Diphtheria, people can die from that. The flu, chickenpox, things like that, it doesn't mean that no one ever has a complication. But I did look up, like, what are the statistics of a complication? So, like, for the mumps, for example, according to the CDC, it says complications, any complications, are only 1 in 20,000 cases. That's, as a mom, you know, and I know all moms, all they care about is protecting their child from anything. So we're like, okay, we're not going to give Tylenol to our kid because I hear there's adverse effects. I'm going to try not to give my kid GMO foods because I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm going to try to make sure that my kid washes her hands before she eats. These kind of things to protect our children. When you're talking about mandatory injecting toxins into a body that are supposed to give immunity to diseases, with thousands of parents coming forth saying, hey, there's adverse reactions to this vaccination, why would you take the chance? And if you want to take the chance, that's up to a parent. But for the government to say, we're not going to give you that choice, and you have to, and we're going to take away your child's right to education if you don't do that, that's what's controversy about this, is that you're not only that, but you're violating our own Constitution. And there's two quotes from Thomas Jefferson, who's one of my favorite people in the world, and two quotes by him. He says, every man and every body of men on earth possess the right of self-government. That, to me, is what we're talking about taking away. And in addition, he says, if people let the government decide what foods they eat and what medicines they take, their bodies will soon be in as sorry a state as are the souls of those who live under tyranny. And I think that's what parents are in such an uproar about. I completely sympathize and understand of parents going, look, I don't want my child to be at risk if you don't vaccinate your kid. I can't tell you how many parties I've taken my kid to, and I see, kids there sniffling, sneezing, and I'm like, really, why would you bring your kid out? I don't want my kid to get your cold. I understand that. But at the same time, I don't want the government telling me that I have to or have not to put something that I personally believe, is harmful to my child, and I don't necessarily want to take that risk. I may on certain things like polio or whatever, but that's my choice as a parent. So, anyway, that's my opinion. And I just want to read a couple things here, what it says in the bill. So it's not my opinion, but this is what they're saying. Mm-hmm. They're saying in addition to 10 vaccinations, it says, and any other diseases deemed appropriate by the State Department. And the department may specify the immunizing agents that may be utilized and the manner in which immunizations are administered. So the government can decide what they want to put in the vaccine and at what age your kid is going to get vaccinated. And to me, that's just too much government interference, whether you want to vaccinate or don't want to vaccinate. That's my opinion as a parent, and I know that there's opposing opinions, but I wanted to share that because I think we're going down a slippery slope here.
Well, Marisol, I think you're absolutely right. And to me, everyone is entitled to their opinion. When I thought about talking about this topic on the program, to me, I didn't want to bash pharmaceutical companies, the state of California, or even the government. It's just like, I think it's about time that people had an educated conversation about these particular matters and not just look at things on the surface for what someone is telling you. Go try to get the document yourself. Read it for yourself from beginning to end, and then make your evaluation and your judgment before you come out and lash out either way. And thank you for, once again coming on, and thank you for those comments.